In this episode of Get Real with Rajiv, I'm going to be answering questions around how do you overcome the trap of debt? How do you communicate your ideas to your managers when you have a fear whether they'll judge you, whether they'll ridicule you? And I'm also going to talk about what's the difference between tapping into an opportunity and opportunism. And finally, I'm going to share with you how do you manage yourself when things don't work out in your business or in your life the way you want them to. If you'd like answers of these questions, then tune into episode number 66 of Get Real with Rajiv. Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 66 of Get Real with Rajiv. Like every single episode, I'm going to be answering 4 questions, and today Pawan is going to be the voice of your questions. So Pawan, what's the first question?
The first question is from Nikhil Gupta. How to come out of my debts in these tough times when market demand is limited and not able to meet the targets to pay, and financial institutions are standing in front of me to recover loans?
Well, Nikhil, that's why debt is called a trap. It is a trap because the harder you fight it, the deeper you get into it. And I can tell you this, Nikhil, from my own personal experience. I went into a debt in 2012, and it took me a good 5 years to come out of it. So till 2017, I was repaying my debts. Now, when you have to come out of the debt trap, there are two things that you need to actually conquer or master or overcome. One is the emotional challenges created by the debt, and then is the financial challenges created by the debt. And most people are not able to overcome the debt trap because of the emotional challenges. So I will break this down for you a little bit in detail. I think, and I can speak only from my experience, Nikhil. So I can tell you this, that the first thing that happened when I went into debt was a loss of confidence, an increase in self-doubt, an increase in my insecurities and my fears as an entrepreneur. And all of that led to me wanting to repay the debt quickly. Like I could not accept the fact that I owe people money. And that actually complicated things in my head so badly that I stopped focusing on my core capabilities. I stopped focusing on my strengths. I became an opportunist. I started looking for get rich quick methods, get rich quick business ideas, and I deviated so much from my core competence that it was not even funny. It took me 2 years to realize that all I had done was wasted my life. And in this process, while the doubt increases, the fear increases, the belief goes down, I started blaming everyone around me. I started blaming my ex-business partner. I started blaming circumstances, blaming God, blaming my fate, my destiny, blaming myself, blaming people around me. So I'm telling you this, that the bigger trap in the debt trap is the emotions that come with debt. And you got to be really aware to this. It took me 2 years to realize that I had just lost my path. So 2012 to 2014 was that. What worked? When did things change? Things changed when I finally decided to take complete responsibility for me. When I stopped blaming everyone. I stopped blaming all the people around me. I stopped blaming myself. You know, sometimes you need to learn how to forgive yourself, because some of us come down too harsh on ourselves, saying, how could you make these mistakes? How could you make that judgment error? So I had to forgive myself and take responsibility, saying, okay, it is what it is, and I need to rebuild. So that's what worked from an emotional point of view. From a financial point of view, how did I manage the pressure of repaying people? One was from non-institutional lenders whom I had borrowed money from. I went back, requested, negotiated on a little bit of flexibility in payment terms, timelines, on stuff like the interest rates that I was paying. I mean, these are the realities an entrepreneur has to go through when tough times hit, right? So that was with the non-institutional guys. The institutional lenders like banks, whatever loans I had to liquidate a few assets, whatever I had, assets like even jewelry of all the women in my family. It was not a pleasant experience. It didn't make me feel good about myself, but we had to do all of these things to be able to balance the equation. And most importantly, what I had to do was change my business model. I had to go out there and learn how do I make my business model more profitable, more scalable. Because what I've noticed is for a lot of entrepreneurs, they've borrowed money to invest in their business, but that business is not able to repay that money that is borrowed. So there is no point investing money in a business that is not profitable and is not scalable. And that's the one big change, and the only possible change or the only possible way out from a financial point of view is to do something that is profitable and scalable. And through that process of learning, I went and increased my debt. I actually borrowed more money to go out there and invest in coaches and mentors who I believed could change my capabilities, change my thought process as an entrepreneur. So that was my journey of encountering debt and overcoming debt, Nikhil. The one last thing I would say is, remember, it's a process to come out of debt. It's not a one day event. There's no magic. I know we pray really hard saying, God, do something, open one door so that my life changes. God's trying to say, hey, listen, put your head down, do what you're good at doing, and do it in a manner which is profitable and scalable. Learn how to do that instead of all that emotional assault you put yourself through. I hope this helps, Nikhil. I hope this gives you some direction, some trail of thought to look at. With that, let's move to the second question for this week. So, Pawan, what's the second question?
We have Nitin asking, I have a lot of ideas that we can implement in our company, but I'm extremely scared to present them to the management team because I'm scared of two things. One, what will my manager think or do if I go above his head? Two, what if they don't like my ideas and ridicule me? How do I overcome this?
Well, Nitin, I would say you need to do a couple of things. One is you need to ask yourself the question, how strong is your rapport and relationship with your manager? Because if you do not have a strong rapport or relationship with your manager, then your manager may shoot down your ideas or put you down or feel insecure in your presence, thinking you are a proactive enthu cutlet in the organization, and may feel threatened by that. And when I say build a rapport and a relationship with your manager, I'm not talking about be a butt licker, and I'm not talking about sucking up to your boss. I personally don't resonate with that philosophy. But do you have a foundational, respectful relationship with each other? Do you have a mutually respectful relationship which is based on trust, which is based on doing good for each other? Check that with yourself. That's a question only you can answer. The other thing I would do is I wouldn't withhold if I were you in sharing my ideas. I would in fact share my ideas somewhere to be able to even test my manager, whether this person is a secure person or an insecure person. And I can tell you this safely out of my experience of working with multiple organizations. I don't blame employees when they feel or when they hesitate in sharing ideas with their managers, because the quality of leadership in most organizations is very, very below standards. 90% of managers, I know I'm generalizing, but 90% of managers are not true leaders. They don't go down to the level of people, encourage them, inspire them, hear their ideas out fully. That's just the leadership deficit that the business world is facing today. So I would test the manager to see how do they respond. Do they respond in a secure manner or an insecure manager? And I would actually adapt a communication model with my manager where I'm actually managing my manager. And this is a very important skill for a lot of people to learn. How do you manage your manager? Because when you are surrounded with low quality of leadership, you cannot compromise on your creativity, your career growth just because the quality of leadership is low. So I would do stuff like have conversations with my manager where I would ask questions like, hey, just wanted to ask you, if you have a team member who would share ideas, and if let's just say you disagree to that idea, how would you handle it? I would test the manager. I would ask him a question, and you'd say, I'm asking this for my own learning, my own understanding. Or you probably sometimes put in a message saying, hey, you know what? I have a lot of ideas, but I have a fear if those ideas are not practical, I should not be judged. So is it okay if I share these ideas with you? And if you find them impractical, please tell me they're impractical and give me specific feedback. But if you find them practical, will you help me execute it? So I would use that approach to really manage my manager, Nitin. So I hope these approaches make sense to you. Test your manager and tell me what happens when you use these kind of approaches. And don't worry about them ridiculing you. If that's a fear, then use what I said. Set a context, communicate clearly, ask them what you would want when you share an idea, and tell them you're okay with the idea not being adapted. You just would like feedback for your learning. If you've set up that expectation, you're truly managing your manager. I hope that's useful for you, Nitin. With that, let's move to the third question for the week. So, Pawan, what's the third question of the week?
We have Pawan Chabria asking, I've heard a lot of startup success stories that they tried to resolve a problem by seeing an opportunity and creating a solution for the same. When it comes to opening a new business or a startup, is it bad to be an opportunist?
Well, Pawan, let me put it this way. The startups that you've seen or have heard are successful. Here's what they've done. They've seen a problem, they've seen a gap, which means they've identified an opportunity. Once they've identified an opportunity, what they have done is the most important part, which is they've built a vision of how will they solve that problem, how will they fill that gap, and how will they turn that opportunity into a sustainable, scalable business. So they've created a vision. The second thing that they've done is they've built the capabilities to be able to execute that vision. Most people fail when they are pure looking at it from an opportunity point of view because they are not building a vision, neither are they building the capability. So that, according to me, is opportunism. And when you go into pure opportunism, then you are bound to fail, because the key is this: opportunities are there everywhere, but are you capable enough to fill that opportunity or tap into that gap? And do you really have a vision for what you can do with that gap that you see? So these are two important aspects to answer and to create in the journey. And the ones who are able to create it are the ones you hear about. The ones who are not able to create it are the ones you read about saying they burned this much money. So I would say that's how I would treat any opportunity. With that, let's go to the fourth and final question for the week.
We have Jyoti asking, when things are going right in my business, everything seems to be cool. However, when things go wrong, which happens very frequently, I get very tensed and it starts affecting my mental health and physical health. Can you please share some tips and insights about what changes I should bring in my own behavior so that I don't let these things affect my health?
Well, Jyoti, to begin with, I think you really need to sit down and reflect on how does life actually work. Does everybody have a good time all the time? No, they don't. Does everybody have some type of challenge, some type of pain area, some type of problem all the time? Absolutely yes. So that's how life works. I think people get tensed or people go into panic mode or become paranoid when they lose connection to the reality that life is not in their control. Life works the way it does, and everybody has their own set of challenges because that's what life brings to the table. The only thing that is in your control is your response to those challenges, those responses, your response to those situations and those circumstances. So one thing, Jyoti, that you need to keep in mind is the macro view of how does life actually work. It throws yorkers and curveballs at everybody. Remember that. The second thing is also to understand what role does success play for a person which does not serve a person. Let me explain this to you. You know, when you hit a patch of success, be it in business or be it in any area of your life, when you hit a patch of success, some people either become arrogant and they take it for granted, thinking this is how it's going to be forever, there forever. Some people become complacent, where they sit in their comfort zone and they think that's how life is going to be now forever. Or some people become fragile. What do I mean by fragile? Which means the smallest of challenges, the smallest of deviations from their plans starts shaking their roots. And this is where one has to again ground themselves and really understand that life is going to throw challenges at you. And whatever you're experiencing, be it success, failure, or stagnation, it is not going to be permanent. It is all going to be temporary. The moment you accept these two realities of how life works and what could be the flaws of success, then you ground yourself and you become much more stronger and rooted. And when things don't work out the way you want them to, which they will always not work out the way you want them to, you don't get flustered by it. You actually smile and you choose your response to be able to come out of that situation. That for me is an awakened human being. That for me is conscious living. I hope this makes sense to you, Jyoti, and I hope this gives you a lot of food for thought to think about. With that, we come to the end of episode number 66 of Get Real with Rajiv. If you found the answers useful and valuable, then make sure that you share this video with as many people as you can, and make sure you send in your questions in the comment section below, because we would like to answer your questions in the next episode of Get Real with Rajiv.